Hello, hello. Welcome to Raceball Conflict, an anime and manga podcast, run by yours truly, Cyan Kincaid. And today I'm gonna do something a little different, something I've been wanting to do for a while, but haven't really had the opportunity to. I talk about anime a lot on here, a lot of the stuff I've watched, a lot of things I like, but narrowing it down to like the best of the best and what I would constitute as the best anime, the most enjoyable anime, hasn't really been a topic. I've talked about a lot of things I've liked. I've talked about a lot of the series that I favor quite heavily. I've talked about my favorite romances. I've talked about my favorite shonens, but including all genres, including all demographics, I've never actually like put together a list. I've always had one in my head. Uh, if you have asked me what my top 5 anime are, I always have like an answer right off the bat. There's never a question on that. I think it's quite easy to narrow down what I would consider my favorite, but it's not really a conversation that comes up anymore because people are a little, I guess, hesitant to ask somebody what their favorite anime is because so many people are like, oh, I don't know, it's so hard to choose, I'm on the spot. And I've never really been one of those people, you know? I've always known exactly what I like. Even where I'm at now, where I've hit, I think I just hit over 800 anime series watched in total. It's still very easy for me to narrow down what my favorites are. It's very easy for me to make a list because it's going to be the ones that I remember the most. It's the ones I'm going to be able to immediately recall what this show is about. It's going to be the ones I can easily rewatch again. These are all going to be shows that I have watched multiple times. I have revisited over years, even the ones that I watched when I was really, really young, when I was first starting out. Some of these I have revisited probably in the past like 5 years, and I would gladly do again. So today I prepared uh, my top 50. Like, I could do a top 20, I could do a top 10, but I could talk about 50 anime that I can easily put into the category of each spot and why they deserve to be there. Um, I will say a couple little notes to say about my top 50. I do not put duplicates of series, like series that have different seasons or different iterations of them that are similar, like say Naruto, Naruto Shippuden, or Bleach and the Thousand Year Blood arc that is currently happening. You're not going to see both of them on there if you see either of them on there, um, simply because I would rule them all together as one. So whatever I view as the highest peak of that particular franchise is going to be on there, but it's going to probably be representing the entire franchise as a whole. Secondly, I do not have ongoing series on here. I love One Piece. It is phenomenal. It is definitely one of my favorite anime of all time, but I don't think it's fair to put it in a top 50 when it's not finished, when I don't know how it ends, and I don't know how much more of it they're going to be. They have said, of course, that there's going to be, we're close to the end, or we're getting closer. But when we're 1,000 episodes in, what does close mean? You know? So, I'm going to go through and I picked out all the ones that aren't ongoing, which kind of sucked because there are some things that I considered on here initially, like years ago. But now they are ongoing because they have decided to repick them back up as a franchise, and I can no longer count it as no longer ongoing because there's now an extra part. So those have since been removed. But yeah, so it's gonna be just things that are essentially finished. And I think that's all. I think that's all the little like small details I have of it. So let's get right back into it. Let's get right into my number 50, which is going to be uh, kind of an older series, which I guess, to be fair, a lot of these are going to be a lot older. There will be some new stuff on here, but a lot of my preferences are slightly older anime. And it's Witchblade. It is very heavily fan servicey, obviously, but it is based off an American comic. It is probably the first kind of ecchi series that I got into when I was younger. It's a very well done story. It is, if you're into like that sci-fi element and you're into like good battle scenes and um, the story that goes along with it, with her dealing with this new power that she has and also trying to keep her daughter safe and everything. Like, it's really well put together. It's a really interesting story. If you don't mind the booby jiggles, like every fight, you're gonna be fine. But if that's gonna get in your way of entertaining, you're not gonna like it as much. But as someone who I don't mind a little ecchi, especially if it makes sense in the context, which it very much does in this story because it's kind of the entire point of their power. I highly suggest this series. It only gets my low number 50 spot because of the amount of ecchi in it. Again, it still made 50 out of 800, so I think that kind of speaks for itself in a way. My next pick, I think, should be pretty standard. I don't think I'll have to talk too much about this one. Hunter x Hunter, one of the most popular series of all time. Togashi is great. He's done amazing work. The only reason it is this low is because the pacing of the Chimera Ant arc is a fucking nightmare. The fact that the Chimera Ant arc takes almost half the series to get through, and it's so little happening in each episode is drags it down quite a bit. But otherwise, like, the story is great. The world that he's built for this is amazing. I understand why it's always on hiatus. His health comes first, and I do not want to rush it. I would love to see an end to the series. I would love to see a continuation on it, but since it is permanently stopped as far as the anime. I know the manga is still ongoing, and I said no ongoing stuff, but I don't read manga. Y'all know I don't read manga. This is anime only, and it's a wonderful watch. Just rewatching the Chimera Ant arc is hard. It's easier to watch now than it was having to watch it week to week. And this series is probably actually the one reason why I don't watch week to week anymore, because it was so difficult to get through. But yeah, Hunter x Hunter, most people, most anime fans, y'all know what this is. I don't have to say much more about it. Y'all all know it's good. Y'all have all been told it's fucking amazing. We'll move on into, I guess, first shoujo of the series, which I don't have a lot of shoujo on here. I'm not a big shoujo fan, but I do love Blue Spring Ride. I have talked about this before on this podcast. It is a wonderful love story, but it delves so much more into not just the romance of it. Like, it deals with their lingering feelings for each other, but it also deals a lot with how people change as they grow older, because as they had crushes on each other when they were both in middle school and now they're in high school, and they have grown into themselves, they have changed considerably to fit their environments better because of life happenings, because just environmental changes. Everything that happens that changes you in life makes you different, but doesn't change who you are at your core. And this show does such a good job of explaining that and kind of delving into that and exploring that as they figure it out themselves with each other. And it's so freaking cute. I don't like a lot of romance series. I have said on multiple occasions, I can't deal with the slow pacing of a lot of romance series where we wait 24 or 12 episodes for them to finally hold hands for the first time. Not an issue here. But also, even if it was an issue here, there's enough character development between the two of them for me to even look past it if that was the case. But yeah, Blue Spring Ride, talked about it before. Love it. Brilliant. Moving on. Shugo Chara. Not going to be the first or the only will be the first, but won't be the only magical girl series on here. I have a soft spot for Magical Girl. I watched quite a bit of it when I got heavily into it, in probably my early 20s. Shugo Chara was the main cause of that, I think. There was a Magical Girl show I got into before this, which we'll get into that later. But this was the one that made me deep dive. This is the one that made me go back and watch Sailor Moon because I had seen Sailor Moon when I was younger, but it was too girly. It was not my thing. I was the kind of tomboy teenage girl that I wanted to watch Dragon Ball Z and Naruto, and I wanted them to big strong men to fight each other, and I thought that was cool. I wasn't into like the frilly girl power stuff. I watched some of it. I watched Powerpuff Girls when I grew up, but it wasn't something that was, I guess, a key interest of mine growing in my teenage years, early childhood, late childhood. But I watched this probably when I was like 18, 17, and it is a very interesting concept. Instead of like magical items or whatever, like power of the moon or power of the seas or the power of the animals that they get in Tokyo Mew Mew, it's very much uh, endless possibilities of what you want to be when you grow up. Like uh main princely character, like his entire thing. He's very meek, he's very quiet, but he wants to be more outgoing. He wants to be more assertive. So his Shugochara, his little character that helps him transform into his magical boy state, I guess, is more assertive. Very much the more extreme end, but very, very different from his normal personality. And then you have other characters who their dream is to be a top sports player, and they're already really good at sports, so their transformation isn't like a huge drastic change, but it does give them abilities relating to sports and stuff. Uh, our main character, who is very torn on what she wants to be because she constantly hides herself, she ends up with three Charas, which are all possibilities of things she wants to be. She wants to be sporty. She wants to be artistic. She wants to be like the little housewife, good in cooking and cleaning and stuff. So she ends up getting characters or Charas that are representative of all those possibilities that she can be in. And these are all like elementary school kids, so it plays very heavily into like that dream of you being a child and what you want to be when you grow up. Just like super cute concept, and I like it. And the bad guys in this are always like the children's Charas that get corrupted, like the kids who get their dreams stomped on and think it's impossible, and they end up having to fight against that, and that's what ends up making the demons. Not really demons. There's depending on what season you're watching, it's kind of different, but it's I don't want to spoil too much because I do want people to watch this. I want people to go back and revisit it. It's a fun, lighthearted magical girl series that delves a lot into possibilities and a little less into, oh, I'm the reincarnation of some moon princess here to save the world from evil beings, and more of just, this is what I want to be in when I grow up, and here's a taste of what it could be like. With a little super magic elements tied in. But definitely a good watch. If you like magical girl shows and you haven't watched this already, you definitely should check it out. If you don't like magical girl series, or you haven't tried any and you've been scared to because you just think it's all Sailor Moon or Tokyo Mew Mew, I guess Tokyo Mew Mew is pretty fucking good actually. Especially with the remake, but it's neither here nor there. But if you've kind of been like, I would like to try it, but Sailor Moon doesn't seem like my thing, I would suggest giving this one a try. Just because it's a little more slice of life-ish as well. So, you get the cool fights with the magical powers and the transformation sequences, but it's a little more, I guess, closer to what a normal high school setting anime would be. Next up, we're going way older, and that is Cyborg 009. And this is going to include every iteration of this I have seen. I am particularly talking about, I think this is it a 90s series? It aired on TV. I think it aired on Toonami when I was younger. I don't remember where I first watched it. I definitely watched it on TV first. But there have been several iterations of this that have come out over the years, and I've loved them all. I've even gone back and watched some of the older ones. I have not watched the original black and white. Uh, have not done that much of a deep dive. They even came out with one a few years ago where it's like CG animated. Pretty fucking good. Really cool story. This is, I believe, don't call me. I'm not. I should fact check myself before I say this anyway. But I believe this is made by the same person who's made a lot of the classic animes such as Astro Boy, Dororo, and that Tezuka. Oh, I'm so bad with names. Y'all know I'm bad with names. If this is not your first episode, I don't remember Japanese names. I am very sorry. I am just the anime fan. I'm I know some names of mangaka if they're really really well known, and I watch their stuff like currently. If you ask me to name the mangaka of Inuyasha right here and right fucking now, no fucking clue. But yeah, I do very much believe this was by the same one because it's very similar art style for a lot of the series. The whole show focuses around like these are humans turned to android and they fight for good versus evil kind of thing. So pretty generic, but each of the characters has like a very unique ability that gives them a very specific role in the combat, and they all have very fun personalities. Like, I will say, don't expect a lot from a lot of older anime to have the super, super emotional backstories that we're kind of used to, but you do get some of that with this. Like, main character 009, his entire backstory that you end up going through. So good. The weirdest thing about this is that one of them is an actual baby that was turned into a robot and will forever be a baby. And he's kind of the boss. I think some series have him less played than others, but needless to say, good action superhero series, great works. I would suggest the 90s, early 2000s version, because I know a lot of people had issues with CGI and 3D animation, so maybe the Call of Justice ones might not be for you. You can really just pick this up anywhere, though. You don't have to start with a specific series. They kind of self-explain in each individual one, so you're not like, oh, I have to watch this in a specific order. You're fine. Not that big of a deal. Pick one up that you think looks nice, watch it. If you like it, you like it. And go watch the others. If you don't, you're good. But they're very self-contained, well enough that you can just grab any of them. And then from there, if you enjoy it, you can figure out the fucking timeline. Because I had to do that. Because I initially watched the one on TV, and then I picked up another one, and I was like, oh, this is different. I thought it was the same. And then I had to figure out how to work the internet and figure out how timelines work. And that was a lot harder to do back in the day. Now you have that information at your fingertips, you'll have no problem. But always give a classic a try. Like, I know everyone wants to watch the newest stuff, the newest hype thing. I want to watch JJK. I want to watch Demon Slayer. You want to watch, what else is popular right now? Solo Leveling. You want to have that thing that, like, everyone's talking about because everyone says it's good. But don't forget that there are really, really good shows that are already finished, that have already existed, that are worth just, digging through a little bit to see a little deep dive, because these aren't hidden gems. These were very popular when they came out. These are just forgotten to time. And that's all it is. These aren't like oh, some niche anime. This was a popular anime. This was one of the most well-known anime for early 2000s, late 90s. Most anime fans that probably got into anime online when I did know exactly what the fuck this is. A lot of newer fans aren't. Nothing wrong with that. But maybe, culture yourself a little bit. Uh, Next up, we're getting into another magical girl show that's a bit different from Magical Girl. Princess Tutu. Another very different from most Magical Girl series, which a lot of my favorites are going to kind of break that mold of what Sailor Moon initially created. I guess not created. Sailor Moon wasn't the first magical girl, but Sailor Moon did kind of reinvent the series away from being kind of an idol-ish spin-off. Because initially Magical Girl series were like idols that fought crime. Sailor Moon was just fighting crime, not crime, but fighting demons, monsters, evil moon creatures. This is not that. This was I think it's a play. What's that? The Ugly Duckling, but that's Swan Lake. It's not the theatrical play. I am not a theater kid. I have never pretended to be a theater kid, but I'm pretty sure this was supposed to be like a kind of a play on Swan Lake. I have no idea what that story is. This is just what I'm told. I believe that was in the advertisements and stuff as well back in the day. But essentially, for Princess Tutu, if you don't like the more artistic stuff, you're probably not going to enjoy this. But your main character in the dub, her name is Duck. In the Japanese, Ahiru, which I think just means duck. She is attending a ballet school, and she ends up being gifted this power to turn into Princess Tutu to save the prince who has lost his heart shards to the evil Raven. Your very goth mommy over in the top corner right there is the Raven's daughter, who is trying to afford that and trying to also prevent the prince from getting his heart shards back, so that she can keep them as hers. Whereas Duck is also in love with the prince, but she's like forbidden to say her love for the prince. This whole thing, she turns into a duck as well. It's weird. It's great. It's very artistic. There's no real battles. The battles are dance battles, but they're ballet dance battles. So you're not going to get a lot of like high action, but there is a lot of beautiful artistry that comes with the scenes. And it's really cute. It's a really good story that gets really deep and in depth with some of the characters, including like the knight of the prince and the truth about Princess Tutu and the truth about the world that they live in and everything that will happen to her if she confesses her feelings. It is so entirely fucked at points where it's almost depressing. It's really good. It will tug on your heartstrings quite a bit. You have to be okay with that very artistic direction it goes into. Because again, this is not a beat 'em up magical girl show. This is she ballet dances them into submission. As corny as that sounds, it's still really cool to watch. So again, not the biggest magical girl show, but I do appreciate some of them. Wolf's Rain. This is another one, not a hidden gem, but this is something that was popular early Toonami age. Did not go beyond that because some things get lost to time. Wolf Rains was I think it was an Adult Swim show. I don't think it was technically the Toonami like after school block. I think it was the Saturday night lineup. But this is like a kind of post-apocalyptic world. Like you're gonna get very grungy vibes from the world that's built up here, where wolves are said to be extinct, but In reality, wolves have just learned to hide themselves among humans so that they don't get hunted anymore because humans feared them and hunt them to the brink of death. Um, and these wolves have a dream to find their paradise. Um, so you meet your main character who does not know that he has to hide himself in the human settlements for some reason. He ends up getting captured. Another wolf ends up finding him, like, hey, you gotta hide yourself if you're gonna be here, or you endanger us all. Um, he's too prideful because he's like, no, you've domesticated yourself, how horrible. But they end up gathering almost an entire pack, per se, to go and find this paradise. And it's a beautiful world, and it's a little slow at times, but it's really, really cool story. It's a very well imagined fantasy world that isn't too far out there. Like, yeah, wolves turning into humans, a little weird, but the whole like post-apocalyptic feel and the way the humans react to everything, and the way that they end up getting hunted, and how they end up finding wolves that were used in experiments, or finding uh, someone that is half wolf, half dog, and being treated as a dog, and it's it's very, very well done, and the soundtrack is amazing. Oh my god, go and listen to the OP and ED. So fucking good. Like, this was probably one of the first anime soundtracks I ever bought personally. I remember going to my local FYE, um, dating myself a little bit there. I don't know, FYEs don't exist anymore, do they? Um, but I remember going and specifically searching out this OST because I wanted a physical copy of it, because I could not stop listening to the opening and ending of this anime. Both of them are so good. The opening is Stray, the ending is Gravity. So good. Early Toonami had a lot more bangers than just Outlaw Star and Dragon Ball Z. Just say it. Those are the only ones that ever get talked about. And there's so many good ones that just kind of got forgotten. And I say forgotten because it's just a lot of newer anime fans have not watched them. But those of us that grew up with it, we remember. Any of y'all listening to me right now that have grew up there in the early Toonami age, that early 2000s, that late 90s era, you almost 30 to 30-year-olds, the minute I said Stray or Gravity, I guarantee y'all heard it in your head. You knew exactly what I was talking about. Next up, gonna go a little bit newer, actually. Noragami. Noragami's biggest flaw is that it does not have a season 3. That's all I can say about it. Like, everything else has been phenomenal. It's beautiful to look at, like the character designs, the fight sequences, the way they display the different types of powers and abilities that these gods have. So good. So beautifully done. And the characters, fun, interactive. If you're into any kind of like Japanese mythology, not mythology, what do you call it? Like spirits and like the shrines and stuff. It's not technically mythology. It's like something like Shintoism, something. Uh, Terminology is bad. But like, if you're into anything like that, you're going to love this series. Actually, if you're into any of that stuff, you probably already watched the series. So, Noragami focuses on main character Yato, who is a god where most humans can't see him. Through unfortunate situation, he ends up bumping into our main character, and now she is able to see him, and she has like a little bit of a problem of falling out of her body. And he's trying to help her, but he is a god without a shrine. Like, there are so many other gods that get mentioned and shown in this series, such as Bishamon, and they have shrines, they have followers, they get worshipped. Yato does not have that. He is a lost war god that has been forgotten since wars have ended, and because of that, he is constantly trying to find his place. His whole thing is he wants to have that. He wants to have a shrine of his own. He wants to have his own followers. and he's doesn't try and do it in malicious ways. It's a little greedy trying to get like coins from people, but he tries to do good work to get his name out there in that kind of way. But the unique concept of this show is that the gods, the powers that they have, is that they take lost human spirits and essentially make them into weapons. Like the young boy sitting behind him is a lost spirit in the human world, and he ends up turning him into one of his weapons and turns him into a sword that he uses to fight, you know, various things he has to fight without spoiling, because I could say he fights the monsters, but there are other things he fights that aren't just the monsters. But there's always like a toll that also comes with the human spirits because if the human spirit becomes corrupted, then the god is affected by it because gods don't have consequences. Their consequences come from the humans that they make their pacts with for their weapons. And it's such a good concept because it makes sense. Because yes, the gods wouldn't have something to keep them in the place. What would keep them in their place would be that they have to be reminded of humanity. And the only way they're going to be reminded of humanity is going to have to feel the consequences of a human sin. So when his weapon starts, I won't say breaking the law, but kind of breaking the rules, like misbehaving, being kind of delinquent, instead of the kid facing the consequences, Yato ends up getting physically hurt from it. And that is how they are reminded, like, actions have consequences, and that keeps the gods in line. And it's a fun concept. Like, there's so much more to the story. I'm touching, like, on the little interesting parts because I don't want to touch on the, like, actual story that goes on of, like, his history and his relationships with the other gods and, oh god, 90% of this is his history and, like, the main girl trying to figure out, like, why he doesn't have a shrine and why he is the way he is. It's such a good story, and I wish we had more of it because season two was so good. Season one was phenomenal. Season two was even better. I even watched the OVAs. Great. Why didn't we get a season three? Why did we not get a finish of the series? I don't understand because from what I understand, it got fairly popular. But honestly, I still have out hope. But until then, it stays here because it's done, I guess. Next up, we're gonna stay with gods, but we're gonna go into kind of like Shinigami territory with Hellgirl. Hellgirl I've talked about before. Hellgirl, kind of episodic, very much a revenge story. Every episode, somebody who wants revenge on somebody that's been hurting them puts their name into a website. Hellgirl and her companions go and spy and see, like, are they worthy of revenge? If they do, they make a contract to where the person who put the name in has to give away their soul, that they will also go to hell at the end whenever they die, and they will enact the revenge and take the soul of the person whose name was put in to hell. And the revenge is so satisfying sometimes. Like, not gonna use a real example, because I would not want to spoil any of these phenomenal episodes for any of these seasons, but say you put in, oh, this dude was kicking my puppy, and I want to get revenge on him. So his torture, before he is sent to hell, is that he is now the puppy being kicked by random strangers on the street. It's that level of just like, ah, shit, you reap what you sow. This is actual karma. And then they get ferried off to hell, and everyone lives happily ever after. Kind of, because you still get your whole soul taken to hell. But, great story. There is an overarching story over the entire season, as well as the multiple seasons that happen. Some of them are better than others, but overall, you're still going to get those little episodic episodes. You get little episodic feel for each self-contained story. Worth a watch. You can pick it up anywhere. Of course, they'll start with season 1. Next up, this is going to be interesting. because I have for a very long time considered this my favorite romance series of all time, and that has changed. But just say I love you. I talked about this before. Talked about this on the romance episode with Kedja a couple episodes back. Say I love you. Brilliant romance. Great dive into how people can grow together and grow as themselves with somebody else, as well as still handling the romantic aspect of a relationship very, very well. Go watch it. Go love it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one because I do talk about this one a lot. Yeah. Have fun. But it has been dethroned as my favorite romance. And we will get to that in a little bit. Next up, back to that Toonami age. Trinity Blood. Trinity Blood was one of those series that came out early 2000s in that era when the gothic subculture and the emo subculture were so rampant, especially here in the West. So this was something that got very, very popular, especially with female audiences. This is a classic vampire story. Your main female, Esther, is a nun. She is working at a church. I'm assuming as a nun. I should know more about Christianity, probably. But she is a nun. She ends up getting kind of involved with the whole vampire situation, which is not heavily hidden among the Vatican residents. Everyone knows about it because your main dude right here in the white hair, also a vampire. They are sent to kind of eliminate vampire problems. Classic, vampire hunter hunting vampire, except he has a twist. He is not a vampire that feeds on human blood. He is a vampire that feeds on vampire blood. That is a whole plot point that gets handled throughout the entire series when you start learning more and more about the type of vampire he is and his other companions of the past that are also like him. Spoiler territory, I'm not going to get there because this is my top 50, but I do want y'all all to watch at least some of these. This is not me just like gushing over my top 50. This is me recommending my top 50 to you. Yeah, this was a really good series. If you like that whole concept of Vatican Church, going after vampires, hunting vampires, you like the cool gothic aesthetic, really, really good. And they do delve with like good vampires as well. They don't just go around killing every vampire. They do handle a lot of peace treaties with vampires that don't break the rules. And it's so beautifully done. It's so fun. Main character he's so goofy. He's that goofy badass that jokes around a lot and always kind of like clumsy and falling over. But when push comes to shove and he needs to fight, he just goes straight badass mode, whoops ass, and then probably trips on his way out. But definitely give it a watch. Early 2000s, Toonami classic. Perfect. Beautiful. I'm a sucker for a good vampire story. And this is definitely one of them. Right. Next up is one of those where I said, I'm going to include the entire franchise in one bundle, but I'm only going to put one as its representative, and that is Fate Zero. I love Fate Stay Night. I loved Fate Unlimited Blade Works. I loved Fate's Heaven's Feel. I even loved Fate Apocrypha. I have loved Grand Order. I have even played the mobile game. I love Fate. I fucking adore it. I love mythology. I like things that play into legends. I like things that do it really well and do good representations. I don't care that they made King Arthur a girl. I think that's kind of cool. I even played the freaking hentai game this was based off of. But Fate Zero, definitely my favorite. Not just because there's more Gilgamesh in it. I think, as someone who watched Fate Stay Night, the original Dean one first, and who enjoyed it, because that was the only one we had at the time. And this wasn't like, we didn't have the option to watch these high quality animes back then. It was just Fate Stay Night. Looking back on it, not not the best work, but I loved it. So when Fate Zero was announced, because of course, like Unlimited Blade Verse came out, and it was okay. It was pretty and it was showy, but I didn't really like the story of that one as much. I don't like that timeline as much. But seeing Fate Zero and seeing how gorgeous it was and seeing how well the story was and seeing this is essentially a prequel to Fate, Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works, and Heaven's Feel. You don't understand Fate timeline? It is Fate Zero, and then it's branching paths because this is a visual novel, and one of the branching paths is the Night path, one of them is the Unlimited Blade Works path, one of them is Heaven's Field path. They are all the same, those three are the same story, just slightly different because it's a different visual novel ending. That being said, you do not start with Fate Zero. You can pick, I would say, Unlimited Blade Works, and then go back and watch the prequel of Zero, and then you can watch Heaven's Feel and the others. You can probably watch Heaven Feels first too, I guess. I wouldn't suggest it, but I would suggest Unlimited Blade Works, Zero, Heaven's Feel if you feel like it, Night if you feel like it. But it's so good. It's so fun. It's like amazing, beautiful fight scenes, very fun characters. If you like any kind of mythology, if you like Hercules, Alexander the Great, Gilgamesh, freaking Bluebeard, you had so many cool mythological creatures and warriors and gods that are mentioned in the series. If you don't even know them, it gives you an incentive to look them up. It's so good. It's so good. And then if you go in the Fate Grand, like, this is gonna be more complicated. Apocrypha, Grand Order, standalone series. You can watch those at any time you want. They don't really tie into Zero and Unlimited Blade Works of this whole series. I do include them all in here because it's still all Fate, but those are kind of standalone stories. Fate Grand Order deals with so many different myths and legends because each movie, OVA, series of movies, something, whatever it is, whatever is considered, delves into a different part. Like the last one I watched was Camelot, which I know I watched it in different order. I didn't watch it in the right order. That's the one I watched most recently. And they have Babylonia as well. So you're going to get those stories, you're going to get those characters, and it's so fun. And again, this is so beautiful. Like if you're watching Demon Slayer only because it's pretty, because you know those characters aren't good, you know that story's subpar, watch this instead, because not only is this beautiful, the characters are great, the story is great, like everything about it is freaking gorgeous. It's not just pretty to look at, it's everything. It is every checklist in the box that you need. But if you're intimidated because it's Fate and there's a lot of Fates, I've given you the order. Go have fun. Next up, we're going back in time again. Dean Angel. This is another one. Very popular in my high school. And this was one you could not escape. Now, there's a lot of controversy on whether it was a faithful adaptation to the manga or not, and we all know I don't care about that because manga readers can go suck on their toes and stop talking to me. I'm tired. Like I just want to enjoy my anime. Don't fucking care if it's different. Anime was great. It's phenomenal. Love it. So, for those of you that don't know, Dean Angel, again, kind of came out in that like kind of edgy teenage time for America, so took hold of a female audience pretty heavily. Your main character is raised in a family where he ends up being cursed, blessed, possessed, whatever you want to consider it, with the soul of Dark the Phantom Thief. So his mom's super excited about it because she married into the last person that was possessed by Dark. So of course she's in love with the whole concept. But What ends up happening is whenever he sees or starts to feel any romantic feelings towards his crush, which is the long-haired girl holding the purple-haired guy's hands, um, he will transform into the Phantom Thief, and then his mom sends them like, "Oh, you're supposed to go steal this thing from this museum or whatever." Of course, all the things they're stealing are like art pieces that have some kind of curse or like deep spiritual tie to them that they need for a specific reason. They aren't just stealing things to steal things, they're stealing things because these things deserve to be back where they belong, kind of thing. That's neither here nor there. Either way, he doesn't want to turn into Dark. He doesn't want to turn into the Phantom Thief, but he kind of has to because he doesn't really have a choice. His mom doesn't really give him a choice. Um, it ends up really messed up because so he turns into Dark when he sees his crush, and it ends up turning out that Dark turns back when he sees the other twin, the short haired one, because that's who he ends up liking. And then of course, flip flop. Oh, long haired girl likes Dark, not his crush, or not the person that's crushing on him. Blah blah blah, and it becomes a heartbreak, and it's really kind of campy in a way, but in a good way. Like it's a fun series. It's very interesting world. There's a very interesting dynamic with the main villain of the entire series. Not really villain. Antagonist. And there's always like a new thing dealing with like the cops and everything. And of course, there's a young detective that ends up getting close to Daisuke as he's trying to apprehend Dark. It's fun. It's a little episodic. Well, not really episodic. There's an overarching story, but every little episode kind of deals with a different little situation. Um, so it's not like cliffhanger ish, but very very good story. If you like that kind of thing, if you like a good little love triangle as well, this is great. This is lovely. I've rewatched this so many times. I did even read the manga for this. Didn't like it as much. Like the anime, but I also just don't like manga. So that's a me thing. We're gonna stay in the past a little bit, and we're gonna go to Blood Plus. Blood Plus is also Toonami Classic. This one, it I won't fully blame this one on getting lost time on its own. This one got overshadowed by Blood Sea. Some of you may know Blood Sea as that super bloody vampire series where creepy bunny creatures were tearing people apart, grabbing a girl by both her legs and splitting her in half, shish kebabbing people onto their fingers and eating them. Like, that Blood Sea. Technically, kind of, very loosely related to this, but is not this. Blood Plus is the sequel to a movie called Blood the Last Vampire, which is a much older movie, very good. I would hold it into this place right here along with Blood Plus, but I'm not including movies on here. So, this story follows Sana, who normal high school girl. She lives with her adoptive family, her father, her two adoptive brothers, and one day her school ends up getting attacked by these monsters. She ends up finding out, slightly spoilers, I'm sorry, but she ends up finding out her blood is the only thing that can kill these monsters, so she ends up getting the sword that is specially designed that when she cuts her hand on it, the blood treks through it into the blade so she can cut them, and they turn to stone and they die. Um, these monsters, spoilers, end up killing her father, and she ends up on this whole revenge quest of working with her father's employees because they all knew what she was. She has lost her memory. She has no idea where she's been for prior to being adopted a few years prior to this events, which that all gets explained. I will not spoil that. You gotta watch it to figure that out. But she does go on this whole revenge quest and is trying to figure out what's causing these monsters to show up, as also eliminate them because they killed her father and they are threatening the world, and she's the only one that can stop them. And yeah, really good story, very interesting concept of vampires overall. Uh, brilliant, brilliant antagonist. It does hit on some slightly triggering moments, so those are you that are a little squeamish to certain things. I apologize in advance, but it's so good. It's so dark. It's so well done. The characters are phenomenal. Like I like a good twist on a concept of vampires. But check it out. Do not compare this to Bloodsea. Bloodsea, kind of technically related. It's okay to just forget that it's related. Really, really, it is. Um, if you watch it, you'll understand why it's related the way it is. Next up, Kino's Journey. So, this is probably the slowest anime on my entire top 50. It is the most episodic anime that is on my top 50, but it is such a good, feel good, episodic anime. It is so enjoyable. And I don't normally like that kind of stuff. I don't really like episodic, and I don't really like slow slice of life bullshit. So this entire story follows Kino, who has this little bike that they ride on from place to place, and they have a little journey, and they go to different towns, they meet different people, and they have little adventures, and they're genuinely very wholesome stories. Some of them are a little sad. Some of the characters are a little weird, but overall, it's like you as you're watching it, you're learning a little bit more about Kino themselves. You're learning more about the world that they're in. That you're learning where they got the bike from and why they started this journey. You kind of learn a little bit what they're actually searching for. But every episode is just so relaxing and they go by so fast. My biggest problem with like episodic stuff and like this like really slow life slice of life slice of life show is generally just like the episodes drag on forever. It's so fucking boring. This is not that. This is actually so quick. I remember I borrowed this box set from a friend. Well, a friend of a friend, technically. Like, friend group we would buy anime box sets back in the day. Still buy them now, but back in the day, my whole friend group did that. And if we got something good, we would anime swap. I would give them a box set, they would give me a box set, and we would watch it, and then we would meet up once a week, and we would talk about anime, and then we'd watch anime together, and it was cool. I kind of miss those days. This was one of those ones I gotta swap. I was so skeptical when he gave me this shit, because I was like, this does not look like something I would want to watch. The fuck are you on? I binge watched this entire box set in like 2 days. It didn't even feel like it. It again, if you want the like little fuzzies, the like little a fuzzy in your brain because it's nice and comfy, this is perfect. Because even somebody who doesn't like that like this. So give it a watch. Enjoy it. There's even like a newer I want to say a newer. I don't know how long ago it was. It feels very recent because I watched it like 3 years ago, I think. But like a new season of this came out. And it's really good. You know, I enjoyed it. It feels very in tune with the original. So worth a watch as well. Doesn't really matter which one, I don't think. From what I recall. Again, still very episodic, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah. Next up, we're gonna change pace a lot. Food Wars. I'm gonna tell you what this is. Y'all know what this is. This is popular enough and new enough. You know what the fuck this is. I love the fuck out of it. If y'all said y'all don't like the ending, and maybe you want to bitch and moan about how bad the ending was, I don't fucking care. That ending was great. It was perfect. I didn't have a problem with it. It was fucking fine to me. It felt like a nice little tie off to a story to me. I felt like it actually ended an entire arc for me. I was okay with it. I don't know what y'all are expecting. I don't know what y'all wanted, like, the end on. Do you want him to be the greatest chef in the world and just take over the school? I don't fully understand what people wanted for an ending. But for me, the ending of an entire character arc, I'm okay with. Especially a very important character, I'm good with that. Would I like a little more? Definitely. Am I gonna complain that we didn't get it? Not really. I'm okay. But fun characters, great story, little etchy, don't mind it. Not gonna spend too much time on it. Y'all know what the fuck this is. Moving on. Inuyasha. Classic. Do I have to explain what this is? I really hope I don't have to explain what this is. Because even if y'all did not grow up in the time period that I grew up in, y'all know what the fuck this is. This is iconic. This is almost as iconic as Naruto. This is probably as iconic as Naruto. Like, you've seen these characters. You've seen that sword. You know what a jewel shard is. You know the reference of her falling into the well, ending up in feudal Japan, breaking a jewel shard, and has to go fight the evil Naraku so they can get all the jewel shards back. The weird fucking love story between him and her and his dead girlfriend. Y'all know this. It's great. Fucking great. Go watch it if you don't know what the fuck it is. I'm not gonna explain it to you. If you don't know what this is, you are way too newbie of an anime fan. And you need to watch everything on my list. Everything from here up, go watch it. If you don't know what this is, go watch this, and then watch everything that is about to come next. You're not gonna regret it. Next up, same time period, Prince of Tennis. This one's one that is near and dear to my heart. This is the first sports anime I had ever watched. This is still to this day my favorite sports anime. This is a sports anime that actually got me into sports. I started playing tennis after this. I am not an athletic person. I started playing tennis because this made tennis cool. Great story. You know what sports anime is. Just, they play tennis. He's on his tennis team. He's really good at it. His team's really good at it. And, it makes tennis look cool. That's all sports anime needs to do. You need to enjoy the characters. You want cool trick shots? Do it. Some of it gets kind of ridiculous. They do destroy the dinosaurs with a tennis ball. It's fine. We don't talk about it. Golden Time. This is my 32nd spot, I believe. So, Golden Time, romance anime. Again, not a big romance person. I love this show. Kaga Koko, the female lead in this, one of my favorite female leads in all of shoujo anime. Or, is this a shoujo? I don't know if this is shoujo. But romance anime in general. Like, female-geared anime. She's so sassy. She's so spunky. She's so fucking great. I love her. Her introduction, let me tell you. Her introduction in the series. She shows up. She's not dating the main character at the very beginning, obviously. They just meet at the beginning of the series. She's dating his friend. And she shows up, and she's got a bouquet of red roses, and she just slaps the shit out of him with it. And then he's like looking up at her like, what the fuck? And she's like, I removed the thorns because I love you. And then she walks away. And I'm like, I love this woman. I want to be this woman. I want to marry this woman. This woman's fucking great. Wait. Good. I've talked about this on the romance episode with Keja. I won't delve too much more into it. Go watch it. It's a very cute story. Main character has amnesia, so it's a whole little trope doing with that. It's very fun. Very refreshing. So, nice to see a romance that delves into romance and doesn't just like, hey, we're gonna hold hands in the last episode and that's it. So next we got another magical girl coming up. Sorry. Full Moon wo Sagashite. Sorry if I butchered that. Do not speak Japanese. Don't come at me. This is a magical girl show that went back to its original roots for Magical Girl. If you were here during, well, obviously you were here before when I was talking about the Shugo Chara show, Magical Girl were initially also idols. The only thing is, she doesn't fight crime. So, main character, she finds out, like, she wants to be a singer, but she has a tumor in her throat, so she can't sing. She finds out from these two characters that are behind her, who are, yes, gods of death. They look very intimidating. I'm sorry. Very scary. But she ends up finding out that she is going to die from this tumor if she doesn't have it removed. But she doesn't want to have it removed because if she does, she could lose her singing voice permanently. So they end up making a deal because she keeps risking her life after finding this out that they will give her the ability to be healthy and older looking so she can live her dream for the last year of her life to be a singer. And they work their magic. She transforms into like a 16-year-old version of herself that is healthy and she can sing without being in pain. And she becomes a pop star, and she wants to become a pop star because she made a promise to a friend of hers when she was in her orphanage that she would find him again one day and he would hear her songs. And so she wants her songs to reach him so she can find him again because he got adopted. And it's so very sad, so heartwarming, and the music is phenomenal. Amelie, the Amelie, did a cover of one of my favorite tracks from the song, the show, called Eternal Snow. Go listen to it. It's so fucking good. It is beautiful. The English dub that Amelie did, phenomenal. Like, Amelie does amazing work regardless, but it's such a good song. It's such a strong message in the song as well, and Amelie does a great job of keeping that message in the English lyrics. But brilliant soundtrack. Every song that she sings fits the tone and what's happening in that moment, and there's a very, very deep story that ends up happening halfway through the series, and yeah. Anyway, not gonna spoil it. Next up is the romance anime that has now taken the spot of my number one romance. Because before, for the longest time, it was Say I Love You. That has changed. My 30th spot, A Sign of Affection. This came out last season. I binged watched this shit in a single day. It is 12 episodes. So fucking cute. It is so wholesome. It had me squealing like I was a 12-year-old fangirl all over again. Even though 12-year-old me probably would not have been watching this. It's a little too adult. But main girl is deaf, so she communicates with sign language. She ends up meeting a gentleman who he speaks multiple language, but he does not sign, but he wants to learn to communicate with her. So he wants to learn how to sign. And they end up interacting more and more with each other. He ends up learning more, and she is like overjoyed that he's wanting to learn so she can communicate with him better, back and forth. The moments are so fucking good. You can really feel the chemistry between both characters, and you can see the emphasis of trying to communicate when you have that barrier of not being able to speak and not being able to hear somebody speak, not being able to hear that tone of voice, not being able to understand like someone's intention without being able to hear them, but trying to figure out other ways of doing so, other ways of communication. And then there's always, of course, with any good romance, a lot of side characters with also really good stories to go along with them. Where main character, her best friend, ends up also having a crush on somebody, and there's also a love triangle, and it's so good. Go fucking watch this. I have not binged watched an anime to completion in a single sitting in a very long time. And for a romance anime to do that to me, of all things, you know that says something. Again, this is new. This came out last season. It's beautiful. Go check it out. It's still relevant. Next up, which this is going to be the last Magical Girl series that is on here, I believe. Cardcaptor Sakura. This is as I said during Shugochara, this is the first Magical Girl show I had watched, but I initially didn't dive as hard into it when I was a kid, because It's a little too girly. Little too much frill for younger me. As an adult, revisiting it, I enjoyed it so much more. And I revisited mostly because they came out with the new season Clear Card that continued it. So, Cardcaptor Sakura breaks a little bit of the magical girl mold. She doesn't do magical girl transformations. That's not a thing. None of that. She does have really cute outfits. Her best friend likes to make cute outfits and make her wear them. Kind of weird, but that's what happens. But her whole thing is her dad's an archaeologist and he found this book that has a lock on it and a bunch of cards in it. And she ends up being able to open the box, and the cards end up flying out aside from the one that she's holding. Little teddy bear creature is supposed to be the guardian of the book, and he was asleep the whole time. Didn't realize she opened the fucking book. So he comes out and explains, like, oh, you could open the book because you have a little bit of magical power. So, but now you have to capture all the cards because these cards have powers and they're going to cause chaos around your city if you don't. Which they do, and which she does. He teaches her how to capture them. They end up having to find unique and inventive ways to capture certain cards with certain abilities. All these cards' abilities are very on the nose. One has the power of fire, power of water, the power to make her jump, power to make her run fast, the power to make somebody good with a sword, the power to put up a shield, power to put somebody asleep. Very, very on the nose, very specific card purposes. But you can use them in like combinations and stuff, which she ends up doing later. And she ends up using certain cards to capture other cards because using different types of logic. It's really fun. It's really wholesome. Really cute. Can't even blame nostalgia on this because I didn't like it when I was a kid. I watched it when I was a kid. It was weird that when they decided to dub this, they were like, hey, girls aren't gonna like this. We're gonna target this to a male audience. I think that was its downfall. This got banned in the US, by the way, because the cloud cards that she captured reminded Christians of witchcraft, and they said it couldn't be allowed. So, the original dub never got finished. It got cut off at some point. Took off the air. There is a dub now. They redid the dub. Much better. They did not call her they changed her best friend's name to Madison, of all things. Kept her name Sakura, but changed her best friend's name to Madison. Glad she's not Madison anymore. Anyway, next up, we're going back to a newer one. Carol and Tuesday. This one came out a few years ago. Got fucking slept on. Should not have gotten slept on as hard as it did. Probably got slept on because one, not a puncher, not super fighty, it's not JJK or Demon Slayer. You know, it has actual story and plot and really good characters, and it doesn't do the punch, but it's very beautiful. Amazing music. Oh my god, the music in this is fantastic. The story follows Carol and Tuesday, who end up meeting very different backgrounds, but they end up making music together, and they want to become musicians in a world where most music is made by AI. That sound familiar? That sound very close to home to our current reality? Yeah. But no, they do like very like acoustic sounding music, like guitar, piano, obviously. And they do very catchy little tunes. But you see their performances, and you'll also see the performances of the other big stars at these concerts and the other big names that are not technically actual real stars, but you can see where they draw their references to actual musicians that are popular in today's climate. So well done. Such a good story. You get a good little completion for their character arcs as well. So, whole season handles everything in a nice little package. This is also made by the same person who made Cowboy Bebop, if you need an extra reason to watch this. Apparently this takes place in the same universe as Cowboy Bebop. Somehow. I don't know how that works, but yeah. Naruto. This is my number 27 spot. This one, phenomenal series. I love Naruto. I love Naruto Shippuden. I like Naruto better than Naruto Shippuden. But that was because there's some weird shit that happens in the middle of Shippuden that I just didn't like as much. Naruto, from beginning up until Sasuke retrieval arc, fucking goated. It's amazing. Very well done. Probably not my favorite of the big three, but my favorite, my only one of the big three that's going to be on here because it's the only one that's done. Yes, there's Boruto going. Yes, I do watch Boruto. Yes, I do love Boruto. Boruto is not Naruto. It's a different series. Not including it. Bleach is still ongoing. Bleach would probably not make my top 50, to be honest. Not the biggest Bleach fan. One Piece might have. Might one day be here. We'll see. In like another decade. Naruto, though? I'll have to explain what it is. Y'all know. Escaflowne. Number 26. Now, before any of you fuckers that do watch my content, that have been here before, one of y'all, oh, Cyan, you always talk shit about isekai, and then you put an isekai in your top 50? Nah, bitch. I talk shit on modern isekai. Modern isekai is fucking trash. Not a single fucking modern isekai has been actually fucking good, and I've watched a lot of them. This is a time when isekai didn't really exist as a term. I still will argue on different levels of whether this would be an isekai or not, but I would allow this to be called an isekai depending on what definition of isekai you want to use for it. Because she does go to another world, she gets trapped there, and she ends up meeting Vaughn, who is like the disgraced prince of a fallen empire. She has the pendant that can help him summon his giant mecha that he can summon to fight and help him recover his lineage, whatever. Really good story. Very lots of detail to go into on that one. But this is what would be considered a classic isekai, I guess, because isekai initially, these kind of concepts of being trapped in another world were generally geared towards females back in the day. They were not male fantasies. They were female fantasies. Granted, modern isekai have tried to capitalize on female market too. They still fucking suck. I'm talking about that stupid reincarnated in the life as a villainess. I'm talking about you fucking Relina bullshit ended up at the Duke's mansion. Both of them trash. Horrible. Bad characters. Boring as fuck. No originality. Very poorly done. Don't talk to me. This is good. This is really fucking good. There is a movie, and there's a series. The movie is essentially a condensed version of the series. Slightly different, but same concept. Doesn't really matter. I'd suggest watching the series. The series did air on TV when I was younger, which is how I first watched it. Then I ended up buying the movie, thinking it was the same thing, realized it wasn't the same thing. So I ended up buying the series. Really fucking good. Phenomenal. Love it. Go watch it. Go see what a good isekai is like. Next. Rurouni Kenshin. I feel like I'm gonna get some hate for this one, and I don't care. I'm gonna ignore it. So one, we are talking about OG Rurouni Kenshin. We are not talking about the remake, because I have not finished watching the remake. But, and also I think there's still going to be another season of it. But Rurouni Kenshin, Toonami Classic, don't need to tell you what it is. Great samurai story. Great depiction of the Meiji era, which we don't really get a lot of. We get a lot of samurai stories in anime. We don't get a lot of Meiji era samurai stories, because Meiji era was a very, very interesting time for Japan. It was around the time when they started banning the carry of swords. They wanted to have more peace. They want to integrate more Western stuff into Japan, or they were trying to, and they were having like this whole struggle between it. It's a very, very fun time for Japan. Very pivotal point. Really kind of Like, I know you shouldn't really like learn history of anything from a cartoon, but this is what got me into learning about the different periods of Japan. Because again, there's plenty of depictions of different eras of Japan. There's different depictions of like Oda Nobunaga and all that, everything that went on around his timeline as well. That's probably the most popular one. Meiji era gets no fucking love. This gives it the proper representation it does. It's got beautiful characters. It's got great fight sequences. Like, this shows exactly how one who probably seen a lot of horrible things on a battle line, who has devoted their entire life to essentially killing people, who wants to better their life, who wants to turn their life around, who wants to become somebody respectable, and how they struggle to constantly leave that tainted past behind. So good. It's so good. All the naysayers in the comment, I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. I'm not going to get into it here. But phenomenal classic. I'm looking forward to the next season of the remake. Moving on. Code Geass. Again, if I gotta tell you what this is, I have to tell you what this is, go watch it first. Because this is a staple. This is a household anime. This is an anime you should know what this is. If you are an anime fan, you know what this is. It's fucking great. Lelouch is a fucking mastermind. He's fucking crazy. I love it. He's psychotic. He does not care about like how he gets his way, as long as he gets his way and his sister is not harmed. It's an entire story about revenge on his father, who abandoned him, and his sister because of a simple... Actually, I can't say that. It's a spoiler. Anyways, he gets a magical power that he can use to command somebody to do something for him once. Only once. And he uses it brilliantly. He takes over an entire rebel organization to take down his father's empire. It's great. It's great. Go watch it. Brilliant. I don't have to say more. Y'all know what this is. Next up. Y'all don't know what this is. This is Gunslinger Girl. If you know what this is, I like you. If you don't know what this is, I don't blame you. Gunslinger Girl, early 2000s, about girls who have guns. This is a organization who they pair up an adult with a younger sister, and they essentially handle assassination jobs. But the little girls are genetically engineered to be killing machines. Like, most of them are carrying around like a violin box or something that holds their guns, so they can be very non-assuming, and they tackle various different situations. You have your main duo, but you will get time with each individual pair per se, and like how their dynamic is with the brother and sister combo, and how they work. Your main pair, though, the older brother is struggling to treat her as a weapon, which is what he was told to do, so he keeps like, she's just a girl, I want to treat her like a girl and give her cute things and let her enjoy life and whatever. Well, the others have their own ways of doing that. His tend to be a little frowned upon, or like a little, not frowned upon, a little side-eye looked by some of the others, because they just like, this is weird. But it explores the morality of the whole situation, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Children soldiers, kind of bad, but it's a story. It's anime. It's great. Good characters, great story, episodic, but phenomenal. 2 seasons. So this is the poster for the 2nd season, but that's because I like the 2nd season more than I like the 1st season. I shouldn't have to tell you what this is, but I do have to explain what this is. This is Fullmetal Alchemist 2003. This is not Brotherhood. this is very much not Brotherhood, and this is not a standalone stand-in for both 03 and Brotherhood. This is just 03. Because if you have been here long enough, or if you have been to my content long enough, you know I fucking hate Brotherhood. Brotherhood is probably one of the worst reboots of an anime franchise of all time, in my opinion. I have so many problems with it. It is so bad. It ruined so much. But enough about that. We're going to talk about the good one. Brilliant character writing. Brilliant. It spaces things out. Like, you get the full in-depth stories of everything that happens from the beginning up until the point where they changed from the manga. Oh my god, they changed the manga. How dare they? That makes it bad. It's different from the manga. It's bad. Can't tell you why it's bad other than it's different. Oh, how scary. No. This is phenomenal. It did the very beginning of it covered all manga stuff. Very well done. Very well spaced out. Gives it time for things to sink in. Handles things very seriously. It does have its little gags, but it doesn't do the gags over the top all the fucking time like Brotherhood does, and it doesn't take away from the moments because it knows how to play out a serious moment to completion, to let it sink in and let it breathe and let you fucking feel. And then the later half of the series, where it does differentiate, and it's so scary because it's different from the manga. So fucking good, because they utilize characters that, one, aren't utilized in the manga, and they utilize them in such a fun way and tie everything back to the beginning, and they do a very interesting concept of tying even the homunculi into the main story of the beginning, and not just make it some weird I cut off parts of my body thing weird. But this is so fucking good. It's so fucking good, and the soundtrack is phenomenal. The soundtrack is so fucking good. Brotherhood can't hold a candlestick to this shit. Like, yes, again is a very good opening. That is it. Every fucking track in this is so good. When the moments are eerie, the music makes you have chills up your spine. You get the main villain's fucking song playing. Oh my god, I had goosebumps. Every time I fucking hear it, I just feel fucking creepy all over, which you should. When you learn the main villain's backstory, you need to feel creepy. That bitch is crazy. I will always, always stand by. If you are going to watch Fullmetal Alchemist, watch this one first. Then watch Brotherhood. Why? Because Brotherhood does cover that first little chunk, the first half of the series, but it covers like 20 episodes of a series in 8 episodes. Which means you're going to get the spoilers of the things that happen, which are going to kind of lessen the impact of when you first watch them. You watch them again in the longer version. Like watching something where you know how it ends in a short version, well, watching it where you know where it ends in a shorter version, not as bad. But watching something where you don't know how it ends in a longer version, very difficult. Very, very difficult. I am stumbling over my words. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you know how something ends and it feels like the scenes are going to be dragged out because you already know what the punchline is. But if you don't know what the punchline is and it's dragging out and you're like on the edge of your seat and you're waiting to see how this holds out. You're waiting to see like how these characters react. So fucking good. It's so fucking good. Brotherhood doesn't do that. Brotherhood's like, yeah, this thing happened. Boom. It's done. Okay. On to the next plot point. Who fucking cared? Nobody fucking cared. It's fine. Y'all sad. Y'all sad? It's fine. We got to the next thing that's sad. No. You need to let things breathe. You need to actually enjoy the moment. You need to feel that fear. You need to feel that dread. You need to feel that sadness. That is what this does right. Anyway, that's my Full Metal Alchemist rant for the year. Next up, A Lull at Sea. I was trying to remember the Japanese name of it, and it's right there in the middle. Nagi no Asakura. A Lull at Sea. Um, really fucking good. Very good twist halfway through the series. I don't know if I've talked about this one before. So, Nagi no Asakura has to deal with uh, most of these children in this picture. Well, 4 of these children in this picture. Which I guess is most of them. They all are from an underwater society. They went to school and they live in the water. They are specific type of people, human race, whatever. They are forced to have to now go to school on land. And of course, they don't get along with the land kids because the land kids are like, oh, you're different, you're weird, blah, 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 we're going to bully you. And it's a little hard to watch at first because they're children. They very much act like children. But it's done in a way to set up for the mid-plot point. Because when that mid-plot point happens, and things fucking change, and things hit the fucking fan, and then there's the time skip. Because yes, there's a time skip. It goes so fucking hard. This is such a slept-on series. This is not that old. This is what, in the last decade, I think. Really fucking good. More people should watch this. It's like, if you like a good romantic drama, because there is going to be some romance in here, watch it. A little supernatural stuff, a little slice of life. Really good. The characters are really well done as well. Like little subtleties in their personality and picking out little instances of their interactions. This was also something that got way stronger on the rewatch because once I learned how things ended, going back and rewatching it and seeing the things that led up to them, I'm like, shit, I didn't notice that. But now that I know that's gonna happen, I noticed that. So, great series. Go watch it. Have fun. You'll thank me later. Next up. Y'all ain't gonna know what this is. If y'all know what this is, again, I like you. This came out early 2000s. This aired on TV in the US. It aired on MTV2 when MTV2 had an anime blog. This is Heat Guy J. For me, when I advertise this, I say, if you liked Cowboy Bebop, you're going to love this. It has a similar concept of like a laid-back, kind of lazy main character who is also kind of a badass. He just doesn't let on that he's badass. Except the difference is, he has more personality than just that. He actually has an in-depth story. He has a whole relationship with his brother and his co-workers and stuff like that. Is actually interesting and well-developed and played upon throughout the entire series. It's a little episodic, but they do have an overarching story throughout the entire series instead of just like, hey, we're gonna just put the plot at the end in the last 2 episodes. We're just gonna use the rest of the series to just be episodic and not do anything and build anything up. Yeah, no, this doesn't do this. This actually builds up the story from beginning to end. So, back up a little bit. This show, kind of post-apocalyptic, new utopia type world, where they have rebuilt the cities after kind of the world ended. A lot of things are outlawed now because of things that destroyed the world in the first place, like a lot of things that cause pollution, cigarette smoking, drugs, stuff like that. Not allowed anymore. Well, not that drugs were allowed to begin with, I guess, but you know what I mean. This is also a world where the city has banned androids or robots or cyborgs of any kind, and you can't use them. The exception being our main character, Daisuke, who his partner, Jay, is a robot. They work for the city safety management agency, and they handle a lot of what they phrase it as. He helps solve crimes before they are committed. So he helps stop the crimes. So he's constantly at odds with the cops who are like, oh, well, the crimes are being committed while you're trying to figure this out. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Makes sense. You would understand that. But no, for this, it's a lot dealing with the mafia and the new mafia leader. And, oh my god, new mafia leader. Voiced by Johnny Young Bosch. So fucking good. He plays a Brilliant, crazy guy. Oh my god. I've never heard him play like a psychotic role before this. He does it brilliantly. Um, but yeah, it's a great kind of buddy cop series with very, very well done characters, very beautiful like world building. The city animations so good. The soundtrack's great. Um, Definitely worth a check out. I know this got slept on mostly because it aired on TV, but it didn't air on Toonami. So a lot of people didn't have access to it. A lot of people didn't know MTV2 had an anime block. Uh, and this also was a little late to that big hype. It was like you had the anime peak at a point, and I think this came out like right when things started kind of declining a little bit for like TV watching, and people were transitioning over to like internet watching, like streaming, not legally, of course, but uh, it was in that transition period, so people weren't really watching anime on TV as much, at least not the older audiences. Definitely worth a check out. Next, this is number 19, Shaman King. Again, very specifically, the OG Shaman King. We are not talking about the Netflix adaptation. I am not even going to include it on here because Netflix adaptation wasn't bad, but it lacked a lot of the heart that the series had. They did reorder some things, they did speed up a lot of things, they did cut down some plot points to, I don't know why. I actually don't understand why they cut out some plot points or made them super fucking short for no reason. Who would have thought Netflix can't do anime, right? That's never happened before. But Shaman King, great classic. I watched it initially on 4Kids. I have since rewatched it, both in English in the 4Kids dub, as well as watched the Japanese version, as well as read the manga, and I watched the reboot. So I have a fair comparison on all fronts. Really well done. Really, really good story. How to explain it without spoiling. Main character Yo Asakura is going to taking place in like a shaman fight where they're trying to decide who is the Shaman King. Ooh, couldn't have guessed that from the title. Um, he ends up getting a soul. Amidamaru, who is a swordsman that has passed away, and he ends up using. They end up using the souls as their power scale per se. Like he ends up getting abilities of his soul. Try not to use anime terminology from the show because it's complicated if you haven't actually watched the show. You know, it's really hard to describe series like this. But yeah, it's just your typical shonen. Like there's gonna be cool fights with spirit energy stuff, and you're gonna see a lot of like not famous people, but definitely famous people being brought from the dead kind of thing because it's kind of necromancy in a way. You also get a lot of touch in like different cultures and what shamanism would be in different cultures because they do play into different uh, sections and different parts of the world. So interesting, definitely worth a watch. You can watch the Netflix one. I'm not gonna say don't. It's fine. I just it feels very watered down compared to this. And it is much prettier because newer anime style, but Netflix just needs to stop, man. Next up, also something with a re-adaptation, Spice and Wolf. I cannot speak anything on the re-adaptation because it's still currently airing at the moment. I have not even watched the first episode. I do intend to watch it. Don't come at me. I will watch it, and it may sit right here next to this at some point. It may even go above this. I don't know. It might take fully like skyrocket it. But Spice and Wolf, iconic classic anime. If you have watched anime long enough, you know what this is. This is Economics the anime. She is a wolf god, and she partners up with a merchant, and they go on adventures. I guess they travel together, and she learns stuff about the world, and she gets to learn more about him, and she gets to learn how like trading and stuff works, and so do we as we venture through it. And he gets to learn more about like what she's been through, and she feels like partially betrayed because she devoted so much time to this one spot to give them a proper harvest and blah blah blah. And they kind of forgot about her, and it's so good. She's such a well loved character. She's so iconic. You know what this is. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you go watch the remake, I'm sure the remake's fantastic. It's not done by Netflix. It's got to be good. Most anime remakes are actually really fucking good, with the exception of Netflix ones and Brotherhood. But yeah, this is phenomenal series. Um, Definitely deserving on the spot. I actually having it 18 is kind of wild to me, but looking at what's above it makes sense. Next up, talk about remakes. Trigun and Trigun Stampede. I am putting them both here because I love Trigun and I love Trigun Stampede. People can shit all they fucking want on the 3D animation. Orange did a phenomenal job. That is the best 3D animation I've ever seen. It looks so fucking good. Once you get past like the first episode, you don't even notice it anymore. It's so well done. It's so worth it. Watch it. It's great. Anyone that complains that it doesn't feel like Trigun, it doesn't feel like Vash, he feels different. You're in your fucking nostalgia hole, and you need to get the fuck out. You need to grow up a little bit and learn that you need to, one, learn where your nostalgia bias is, and get the fuck rid of it. Because nostalgia bias is fine. But you can't say something's bad just because you can't separate your bias from actual fact. Trigun Stampede was so fucking good. The redesigns for the characters were so good that you can look at the character, tell exactly who they're supposed to be, but at the same time they look different enough to fit a modern climate. If you don't know what this is, it's a space western kind of, sort of. I mean, they're not in space, but they're on a foreign planet kind of thing. So kind of western, more western, supernatural western. Really fucking good. Go watch it. Go watch either of them. I don't fucking care. There might be a second season of Stampede. I don't fucking know. I keep hearing rumors about it, but we haven't gotten a release date or anything like that, so I don't know. Till then, this stays here. But Trigun, great shows. Great, both of them. Next up, Slayers. Slayers is a classic. Slayers is something I have revisited multiple times. Your stereotypical RPG quest, main character, powerful sorceress, paired up with a swordsman, white mage, an alchemist. They fight bad guys, demons, evil sorcerers, all that good stuff. Each season has its own little kind of major villain. Each season has its own kind of overarching story. Every episode's kind of fun. It's very happy-go-lucky for the most part. There are some like serious moments, but it's that right little mix of just like you want a good adventure story. You like RPGs, you like JRPGs, you like Final Fantasy, you like stuff like that. You're gonna love this. It's right up your alley. I don't have to explain too much of that. Next up, Samurai 7. This is Forgotten to Time. Not gonna say hidden gem because definitely wasn't hidden. It was very popular when it came out. There's a classic story in Japan called The Seven Samurai, where a town hires 7 samurai to defend the village against bandits because bandits keep stealing all the rice. This is that story, except there's mechs. That's all there is to it. Really cool fight scenes, really cool characters, really cool setting. The mechs are there. It's fun. But yeah, it's a good story. Like overall, great characters, great fight scenes, good samurai story. Go watch it. Next up, Magi. All iterations of it. This is season 1, season 2, Sinbad, all of them. I know the manga goes on farther. Don't care. I'm not gonna read it. too lazy for that. Uh, kind of. What is that? Uh, Aladdin story stuff. The all the thieves and the is that 1001 Nights? Is that the tale? Something like that. Genies and all the Arabian Nights things. Kind of like that. You're in a magical world where like dungeons have popped up, and each dungeon is generally ruled by a genie or a jinn, and those who conquer the dungeon can capture the jinn, and the jinn will grant them powers um, that help them manipulate this power system called Ruka. Uh, yeah, your main character Aladdin uh, and Alibaba end up teaming up, and they conquer a dungeon, and they a lot happens. They meet a lot of people. They meet other people with gins. They meet the bad guys that have the gins as well. Um, and there's a lot of really interesting fights. There's a lot of really, really good characters, and this is very beautifully done. Don't know why this didn't get another season. It really deserves its continuation. It was really popular, uh, but yeah, it's a there's a lot of individual character stories that go on with it. There's a lot of like in-depth story behind Aladdin and what he is, because he's not technically like normal like everybody else. Um, there's a lot of history that gets pulled in, and the Sinbad story is a spin-off story of Sinbad, the big hunk back there in the purple hair. It's his origin story essentially, but you'll meet him in season 2, I think. So yeah, great story, great world building, great use of magic, great use of animation. Worth it. I've watched this like 3 or 4 times. I've actually been tempted to read the manga. I just don't like reading manga. I can't bring myself to do it. Uh, Next up, Dot Hack Sign. This encompasses all Dot Hack series: Dot Hack Root, Dot Hack Legend of the Twilight, all of them, all the ones I watched. But Dot Hack Sign's my favorite. It is what Sword Art Online should have been. Now that I've finally watched the first season of Sword Art Online, I can officially say that is very pathetic that it got as popular as it did. But this, so Dot Hack Sign, built around a virtual world. Everything in it takes part in the virtual world. Main character is actually not in this poster, but she's kind of the center focus, where everything's kind of seen through her eyes, where she's meeting people. She ends up meeting Tsukasa, which is the white-haired boy, shown here, and she tries to get closer to him and stuff, and she can't figure out how, because he keeps wanting to like keep his distance. She ends up meeting like other characters. We end up learning that Tsukasa is trapped in the world. He can't log out. The whole story after that revolves around trying to figure out who Tsukasa is, why they can't log out, why they're stuck here, blah, blah, blah. You get little flashes into what he is doing when nobody else is around. And you'll flash to other characters as well. This show does a brilliant job of depicting how people escape into video games without heavily narrating it. Like, you'll get little scenes sometimes, especially at the beginning of the episodes, where it's all black and white, and you won't see faces, but you hear them talking, and you'll see their hands moving, and things are happening, and you'll hear stuff in the background. So like a father and his son arguing about money, and then you'll cut to full color in the game, and then you piece together like, oh shit, that was that character and that character interacting in real life. Okay, now you know their relationships, and you know like, oh shit, that's what they're escaping from reality to in the game. Like, oh, they mentioned they have to deal with some in real life stuff. This is what they're dealing with, and it's that big like jump of like seeing the actual world, like the real world, as black and white versus seeing the game world as color, because this is where you enjoy yourself. And does that with every character. Like every main character that is introduced, like important character, and you will see a little glimpse into like why they play the game, whether it's for to escape school, to escape like a divorced family life, to escape or not escape, but because you want to come online and troll and be goofy and be a player killer because you just want to be an asshole. Like it handles all those characters in it without throwing them in your face. The subtleties of it are so good. So not artistic, but like kind of deep, I guess. Like it can be considered slow by some people, which I understand, but I think that's what makes it great because it doesn't have to be a high speed action video game all the time. You want that, you can go watch Shangri-La Frontier. But if you want to do like a kind of a character analysis of like escapism and video games and the dangers of it and like real world consequences of VR games and stuff like that, like granted, nothing that happens regarding being stuck in the game would actually happen in real life, but it's cool. And it shows that they really did develop the game. Like they developed the world of the game before they made the anime, because they don't spend a lot of time explaining the game mechanics. They just expect that if you're a gamer and you watch this, you're gonna understand what they're talking about because just the context clues. Because nobody reads the tutorials for games and mechanics. You just figure it out. And this is that same concept. Like they'll mention like towns and different types of classes and stuff, and you're in your head you'll just like, oh, that's what must be this kind of class. Got it. Understood. And you're good. You don't need the exposition. You don't need the explanation. You don't need somebody sitting at your side the entire anime explaining you what every single thing that happens is. Well, granted, there are a couple times where they explain it, but it would be like little subtle things where like, oh, I didn't know you could do that here. It happens like maybe 3 or 4 times in the show. Otherwise, really fucking good. All the series are great. I think you can start with any of them. They're kind of standalone stories. The timeline for it's a little weird because the timelines go based off of the updates of the game, because all of them take place in the game, but it's like within a different update of the game with different characters. If that makes sense. If you're a gamer, you understand what I'm talking about. If you're not a gamer, don't worry about it. Next up. Gurren Lagann. I don't have to explain this. If you don't know what the fuck this is, why are you still in this video? Like, I'm almost about to hit the top 10, and you don't know what the fuck Gurren Lagann is? This shit is tattooed on my back. This shit's fucking great. It is so over the top. It's so funny. There is a little fan service. There's a lot of amazing fights. It's all about the strength of human willpower. Go fucking watch it. If you have watched it, go watch it again. It's great. It's fucking amazing. Don't listen to the internet. The internet spoils you. Anyway. Hellsing. I will say this is going to take the spot for both Hellsing and Hellsing Ultimate, but I do have a slight preference to the original Hellsing solely for the soundtrack. Original Hellsing with the first 13 episodes, or the only 13 episodes, phenomenal soundtrack. It did have an anime-only ending, and it did not finish anywhere close to the series, but the soundtrack is so fucking good. It's amazing. It's so jazzy, and the opening and ending are so fucking strong, and I listen to them regularly. This is another soundtrack I bought personally, and I own it. Ultimate was good. Ultimate was great. I'm not gonna bash on it. The art style, beautiful. They readapting it and making it accurate to the manga. Well done. They did it perfectly. They didn't take anything away from what was already animated, because they actually put that in there as well. They fully did the story. The story is great. Characters are great. Characters' hearts are still there. Their personalities are still there. All the plot points are still there. And it just looks amazing. It's 10 OVAs, which means it's 10-hour-long episodes. The only thing it misses is not only is the soundtrack not as good as the original, The soundtrack is bad. You picture this. You have a very epic massacre happening. Like, people in the streets of a city are just being slaughtered alive. What music is playing? Because it wouldn't be, in my head, a fucking pop band about love. But that's what happens. I don't understand it. Otherwise, fucking great. I just can't do the music in it. Music is so jarring. I'll be in a fucking great scene and I'm taken out of it because the music does not fit. Otherwise, it stays here. Otherwise, you know what Helsing is. You should know what Helsing is. If you're here, you know what this is. Anyways, on to the top 10. No one should be shocked. I do run an entire Digimon podcast on the side of here. Digimon Conflict, if you want to check it out. We are not doing Tamers. We are doing a Digimon Adventures. We are about to actually start Digimon 02. But Digimon Tamers, my favorite of all the Digimon series thus far. Which says a lot, because I really enjoy Try, and I love the Kizuna movie, and not including movies, so. Digimon Tamers. Great. Y'all know what Digimon is. It's not Pokemon. It's nothing like Pokemon. Never was anything like Pokemon. Not even close. Pokemon's nothing like this either. It's not vice versa. They weren't in competition for each other. Shouldn't have to say it. If I have to say it, you're in the wrong place. Digimon Tamers, fantastic. Very deep story that you would not expect from a kid's show, but all the right Digimon elements still there. Great designs. I don't have to explain it. It's good. It's Digimon. Go watch. Number 9, Dororo. Another kind of slept on show that came out in the past decade. This one also, believe, made by the same person that did Astro Boy. This is one of his classes. This is a remake of an old classic Black and White. Did not watch the Black and White. I don't know how it goes. This was beautifully done. This is a story about a baby, essentially. The leader of a land in like one of the samurai eras. I forget which time period this is, but he made a pact with devils to make his land prosperous, and in exchange for that, he sacrificed his firstborn. But something interfered, causing the last demon to not get a piece of the firstborn's body, so the baby was born without eyes, skin, ears, sensory, anything. Like, just fleshy, meaty flesh. Like, just that and a brain. That's all it is. They washed the abomination down the river, thinking it would die, and instead somebody picks it up, gives it prosthetic arms and body parts to cover him up to make him safe and protected, and he grows up, and they end up finding out, like, if he defeats certain demons, he can get his body parts back, so he starts doing that. And it plays really well into, like, imagine if you've never heard in your life, like, you're not used to hearing any sound, and you get your sense of hearing back, and how traumatizing that can be because everything is loud. Everything is loud, and now you're trying to fight, and you're hearing things, and you don't know how to pay attention to the hearing because you still can't see, but you hear things happening around you. It does that. Same with, he gets a sense of feeling back. He's never felt pain before. He gets his nerve endings, experiences pain for the first time. That shit's fucking wild. They deal with it. They didn't have to deal with it. If they didn't deal with it, I wouldn't have cared as much. But because they dealt with it, this is my number 9 spot. Great story. Great characters. Go watch it. Next up, I don't gotta explain this. Y'all know what Death Note is. A crazy high schooler finds a notebook that he can write names in and kill people, and he does so he can become the god of the new world. He gets a god complex, and then he gets confronted by a super genius who is trying to hunt him down, but can't do that because supernatural stuff is getting in the way. Great. People complain about the second half. I love the second half. Second half was great. Second half was beautiful. Second half was exactly what we needed, because first half, If it would have ended at that first half section part, everyone would have been mad. If it would have ended the other way around, where the other person got off, everyone would have been mad. We needed the change, the change in pace for his development to make him more detestable for us to be satisfied with it. And that was not going to happen unless that middle part happened. Ending of it, great. If you think the ending ruined this anime, you can go start sucking on some toes too. I don't care. You don't deserve to be speaking your opinions in my chat. I kid, kind of, but I'm tired of hearing the same opinion over and over again when it's like you're not open to the idea of what could have been if it didn't happen that way. You're just like, it was bad, I didn't like it. I'm like, yeah, but what if that didn't happen? Would you have liked it more? Yeah. I'm like, would you really? It's kind of like, develop your own opinions. Don't just copy and parrot everything you hear online just because everyone else says it online. It's called an opinion. You're supposed to have your own. And I have my own. And then my own ending was fucking great. Probably one of the best endings in anime. You're more than welcome to have your own different one, but you can't tell me mine is wrong. Next up, Witch Hunter Robin. This one's gonna be not slept on. This one is forgotten to time. Witch Hunter Robin was very popular Toonami era, like peak Toonami. This was an Adult Swim Toonami block, Saturday night block. Follows Robin, who joins a team of witch hunters, and they hunt witches, but she ends up finding a lot of stuff about herself because she can use some sort of magic, but isn't considered a witch, and there's a lot of dynamic between her and her teammates, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on. It's very, very buddy drama kind of show, but very deep, very goth. Opening is fucking phenomenal. Go listen to it right now. Alright, you back? Listen to it. Go listen to it. Go listen to it. Come back. It was fucking good, right? But yeah, I love this show. It was, again, gothic subculture type thing back in the day. Perfect timing for it. Very good characters. Very, very well done with handling the world. And then they do that deep dive into shit, who have we been hunting all this time kind of thing, but they do it in a really, really well done way. It's not super cliche. It's not like, oh shit, we were wrong all along. Like, oh shit, there might be another side to it though. Yeah. Witch Hunter Robin, Toonami era, classic. Go watch it. Definitely people need to stop forgetting about it. Samurai Champloo. Number 6. I do love my samurai shows. There's been quite a few of them on here. This is I believe the last one on here. But you have your nice little trio, your female who is looking for a specific samurai. She ends up finding a very straight-laced, by-the-book samurai, and then a very rough and tumbled opposite of him that are fighting each other. And she ends up teaming up with both of them to help her find the samurai she's looking for. And it's a journey as they both help her look, but also you get to delve a little bit into each of their stories of how they got where they are now, and it's really well done. Amazing fight scenes, amazing music. Oh my god! So this is the one that fuses classic samurai with hip hop beats, and they do it so well, and it's so iconic. It's so fucking good. Go watch it if you haven't already. This is a classic. This is not hidden. This was not forgotten by time. Everyone knows what the fuck this is. If you have watched at least 30 anime, you know what this is. You haven't watched it, but you know what this is. I don't know why you haven't watched it yet. Next up, Yu Yu Hakusho. Yes, I do have Yu Yu Hakusho above Hunter x Hunter. How dare I? Oh no. How tragic. You know fucking why? Because this shit doesn't have the Chimera Antarc. I also watched this a lot sooner than I watched Hunter x Hunter. But um, Yu Yu Hakusho, spirit detective Yusuke Urameshi, he's a delinquent from his school, ends up getting tangled up with the spirit world, becomes their spirit detective, solving mystical uh, crimes, situations for the land of the dead, King Koenma and the Shinigami that serve him, blah blah blah. There's the best tournament arc of any anime to exist in this series because the dark tournament happens in this, and nobody can argue that that is not the best tournament arc. It is so fucking good. It is amazing. It is by far throws everything out the water. You think tournament arcs in DBZ are good? You think Chunin Exam is good? Children. No. This is peak. This is fucking great. I know some people have some issues with one of the later arcs. That's fine. You have your issues. But I don't have those issues. Those issues don't exist to me. Those arcs were fine. It was just because they followed the Dark Tournament arc, and the Dark Tournament arc is the peak of the series. But this isn't just like a straight up and then straight down. Like, the ending of the series is still higher than the beginning. It's just it's a little bit of a downgrade from Dark Tournament, but that's because the Dark Tournament arc was so fucking good. You can't deny it. That arc was so fucking good. The Sensui arc that followed was still really fucking good. It just wasn't on that level. And then the Four Kings arc was, oh man, getting some like backstory into Hiei and Kurama. Yeah, go watch it. You know what this is, but some of y'all probably haven't watched this yet. Y'all need to. Really fucking good. It's great. I mean, it's been my top 5. It's been on my top 5 for quite a while. Next up, Outlaw Star. This is, guess what? Forgotten Gem. Not hidden. It was very popular when it came out. The only problem this one had was it got compared to Cowboy Bebop a lot because they aired at the same time and they're both space westerns. The difference is Outlaw Star is a space fantasy western and Cowboy Bebop was a space fiction western. If you don't know the difference between those two, you might be a little too young. But it's the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars. Fantasy elements versus just fiction. Case in point, this has cat girls. Outlaw Star. Yeah, how to describe without spoiling. Outlaw Star follows Gene Starwin, main character right here. He ends up does like bounty work kind of stuff, like jack of all trades type stuff for the planet that he lives on. Ends up tangled up into some space mess where he ends up finding this lady in a suitcase. Don't question it. It's fine. The lady pilots a ship by going into a giant tube, and she pilots it from the water. Don't question it. It's fine. He has some PTSD from being in space. It's fine. It's character building. He overcomes it. It's great to see him overcome it because it's great to see growth in a character. You get to meet various other characters that they run across because they're outlaws, but they're trying to get to the specific place because the lady in the suitcase needs to go there, kind of thing. It's I can't spoil it. I can't spoil it. Anyway, great show, great characters. He's a cool badass gunslinger that drives a spaceship. He has a snarky little sidekick that is the brains of their little duo. They have a amazing, sassy cat girl that is also the type of cat girl that will squash you between her thighs. They have a badass, beautiful samurai lady that joins up with them. It's cool. It's wacky. There's moments of it that are just comedic, but it's fun. It's enjoyable. I love it. This is beautiful. It's needed to not be compared to Outlaw Star because it's very, very different. The only similarities is that they both are named after the ship that they were on. His ship is the Outlaw Star. Cowboy Bebop is on the Bebop. That's the only similarity. It's fine. Go watch it. Great. My number 3. Remember what I said about classic isekai? Not modern isekai? Fushigi Yugi. Fushigi Yugi is phenomenal. It's great. I love it. I watched it. I read it. I watched it again. I regretted reading it because reading it was boring. I watched it some more. It's this one is a story where our main character and her friend end up in a library and they end up reading a book and they end up getting stuck into the book by reading it. And they end up getting separated. They're stuck in this foreign land. And she gets found out to be the next priestess of Suzaku, which is like big thing in this book world where she will help save the land by doing some kind of ceremony, but she has to gather all the warriors of her sector, which are all very handsome men. Go figure. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's a female fantasy. Her friend ends up getting tracked in to be the priestess of Seiryu, which kind of puts her in with the villains, and it becomes a whole story, and then there's romance, and there's drama, and there's fighting, and there's cute outfits, and there's hot dudes, and it's great, and the characters are lovable, and the soundtrack is phenomenal, and if you don't mind an older art style, I highly suggest this. Like I said, classic isekai, if you still want to call them that, are great. Modern ones suck. This is my number 3. It's forever going to be. It's beautiful. You get narrated anything from the story, because there's also a little subplot where her brother finds the book after she gets resucked back in, and he's reading the story, and he's trying to, they get hints that there was a previous priestess of another sect, and he goes on a hunt to try and find her so he can figure out how to save his sister. So you're getting both the book world and the real world kind of stories side by side and trying to put things together, which is really fun. You know, I love complicated stories where it's just like you get different angles being told at you in creative ways, and it does that. Anyways, my number 2. My number 2 has been my number 1 for so long, and it has only recently been dethroned. And I have gotten so much flack for this being my number 1 anime for years. And I'm very touchy on it, but it's fine, because it's still my number 2. It's still great, and I still love it, and I will still say it is one of the best in its demographic to exist. And that is Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is the best shonen action series to exist, because it does all the shonen tropes, all of them, and it does them just as much as anything else. The only difference was when Fairy Tail came out, the people that enjoyed Naruto and Bleach and One Piece for doing it were slightly older, so they were a little like, oh, it is kind of childish, right? But you know what? That's because it's marketed to little boys. Doesn't make it bad. That just means it is what it is, and it does it so unbiasedly. Like, it doesn't try to hide the fact that it does. Like, it has fan service, and the fan service is kind of funny. Like, it's kind of there. But it doesn't hide the fact that it has fan service. Naruto also didn't hide the fact that it had fan service. This bitch turned into a naked woman half the fucking time in the first season. It was fine. Nobody turned an eye on it. They were like, it's funny. Everyone got nosebleed. Funny. Haha. Bleach tried to hide it. I hated that Bleach tried to hide it. Bleach is like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a character basically boink his assistant to give her back to health, but we're gonna pretend it didn't happen because we're super serious. We're not like the other shonen. No. Just do it. You know what you're doing. Just do it. And Fairy Tail did that. You want to do the whole trope of like, oh, nobody dies. Main characters never die in shonen. It's fine. Characters do die. Main characters don't. Characters that die are generally impactful to the main characters, which does happen in Fairy Tail. It does happen. And it has happened. Not gonna say who dies, because I'm not gonna spoil it, but they do die. And it is very impactful, and it almost made me cry. It's fine. Great series. It's very underrated. A lot of people shit on it. People shit on it and they don't really know why they're shitting on it because people shit on it and they were just like, oh, I heard it was bad because this super popular Annie-tuber said it was bad. Make up your own opinions. Like, just watch it and make up your own opinion. It's fine if it's not your thing. There's nothing wrong with it not being your thing. But to say something's bad when you haven't even watched it, or to say something's bad just because it's not your thing, is so unfair to a series. This is a great action shonen with amazing characters. Every fight in it, like, oh no, they death bait. Like, oh no, they don't fucking do that in every fucking shonen. It's fine. The reason it makes it good here is because you're so attached to all these characters. You get so much depth into the characters' personalities and their relationships and the reason that they're fighting each individual fight that you're on the edge of seat and you really care for who's about to win. Because, yeah, they death bait, but you know why it's a successful death bait? Because you actually fucking care if they die. Even when you get to, like, the final season and you're like, oh, well, we know they're not going to die at this point. They've been doing it enough. You're still like, man, it'd be really fucked up if they died. I really like this character. This character's not even, like, the main three. I still would fucking cry if they died. Like, it's because it fucking matters. And that's what makes it brilliant. That's what makes it the best shonen, in my opinion, is like every fight, every single fight has a purpose and has a reason and has a tie-in to the final arc. Every arc does. Secondly, the second reason this is the better one, there's 2 fill arcs in this. This is a long-running shonen alongside Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. But this one went on hiatus twice with the anime. Why? So it could avoid having a shit fuck of filler. Well, I don't mind a lot of filler. I really don't. I watch One Piece, the anime. I don't care about filler. If it's good filler, I'll watch it. Bleach filler sucks. Naruto filler's fine. I watched it. The Eclipse arc is filler in here. Not a bad arc. It's actually still pretty fucking good. And then there was one other arc, filler, still pretty fucking good. But everything else, canon. No other filler. No other filler. Because they decided we're going to go on a break so we don't have to put the filler in, and they're going to restart the series a little bit later when the manga's caught up a little bit more and we have more material to go off of. Makes it much easier to rewatch, makes it much easier to recommend, because then you're like, if you're die hard on skipping filler, you only have to skip 2 arcs. You don't have to be like, oh, you watch these 3 episodes here, skip these 2 episodes, watch this episode here, skip these 5 episodes. Watch it all. Watch it all. Skip these 2 arcs if you want to. Watch everything else. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Now, what is so powerful to dethrone this as my favorite anime of all time? This pillar that has been my #1 anime of all time for over a decade. Fruits Basket remake. Fruits Basket 2019. Alright. Now, I love reboots when they're done well. And this reboot is the best reboot of all time, of any anime series. They did this perfectly. Not only does it keep oh no, for you people who are worried, it keeps loyal to the source material. You get your cohesive story from beginning to end. They do change a few things around to fix some pacing issues because it does get a little slow in the manga, because I did read all the manga. I watched the original anime of this. I read all the manga long before this came out. I've always thought the middle of the manga was slow. They just rearranged a couple of little things in the middle of season 2 to make the pacing a little bit better. And I appreciate that. It doesn't take away anything. They're still there. They still exist. They're still in the story. It's fine. And not only that, they gave us a little extra. They gave us some little scenes that weren't in the manga, but they were alluded to, like hinted at. They're there. They're mentioned, or you kind of think that they might have happened, and they give them to you in animated form here. This adaptation is perfect. The first season is an exact uh, replica of essentially the original anime, which would cover the same material. The first anime, the problem with the first anime was they did a lot of slapstick humor in it that wasn't there initially. They did a lot of jokes that weren't there, and then they gave it an anime only ending. But otherwise, it was fine. It covered most of it. It cut out a lot of little details that mattered, and it cut out a lot of the heart of the series, and it cut out a lot of the seriousness of it. But the remake, the 2019 remake, fixed that. It gave us the endings to the first season that we needed. It still kept some of the humor that is there in the manga without doing the overtop stuff that they did in the original. And then it kept all the characters true, and it kept all the little subtleties, all the little scenes in the background that are pivotal to plot points later on. They're there. They're there. They're perfect. The story is great. It is not a reverse harem. There are so many people that mislabel this as a reverse harem because they see a female character and a bunch of hot dudes. This is not a reverse harem. There is one love interest. There's one. There might be a little love triangle going on at one point, but a love triangle is not a harem. It takes more than two boys to make a harem. No, this is a very in-depth drama story about dealing with familial issues, dealing with societal issues, dealing with all your own insecurities, but put in a supernatural aspect because this entire family is cursed to where they can't get close to another person without risking them finding out about the curse. And it's heartbreaking how this affects a lot of their lives. And then you bring in this shining star of a character of Toru Honda, who is flawed in so many ways. She is by far not a perfect character. She has her own problems that she deals through this series. She has her own traumas that she is working through, but she is still there to be able to help them accept themselves for what they are and help them realize that just because something's sad, something hurts them, you can move past it. And there's so many little stories. And there's so many stories in here that will make you cry. There's stories in here that will make your pull at your heartstrings. You might not like all the characters, but I guarantee there is one character in this show that you are going to fucking love. And I love all of them. There are very few shows where I can say I honestly love every character in that. You know, that's what Fairy Tail's missing. Because I hate Urza Scarlet. I love every other character in Fairy Tail, but I hate Urza Scarlet. But this show, I love them all. I even love the bad guys. Akito. Akito's fucked up. Akito's done some shit. Akito's done a lot of wrong. But I love them as a character. I think they are so well designed. I think their character is so well played. And it's because so many people hate them that shows how well of a character they are. But yeah, Fruits Basket, perfect anime, perfect adaptation. And then there's the prequel movie, the Prelude. Like, people were worried that they weren't going to get that arc done because it's a little controversial. It's a prelude. It's Toru's parents, but it got made and it was beautiful. It was so much more than what I thought it was going to be. It's part of the manga. It's a little kind of wedged in there towards the end in the manga, and they just decided to make it into a movie instead. Brilliant choice in my opinion, because you don't really lose anything from losing it at that point in the story, as long as you still get it, because it clicks in so many little puzzle pieces for you. But that is my top 50. I did not expect that to take over 2 hours. I was actually worried I wouldn't be able to talk about this for 2 hours, to be honest. I was really worried I wouldn't be able to talk about this for 2 hours. But yeah, that's my top 50 anime of all time as of right now. God knows what will come out in the next 5 years that might dethrone something. God knows how my taste will change. Sometimes things move around just because, like, I'm not feeling this one as much as I used to. Maybe I watched it too many times. Maybe I watched this one more time and I changed my opinion on it and I want to move it up. That can happen. But for now, this is what it is. And my top 5 is probably not going to change because my top 5 had been the same for a very long time until Fruits Basket came and rocked some shit up and lowered a lot of things down. But for now, that is it. What do you think of my top 50? How many of them have you watched? How many of them do you agree with? And feel free. Drop me your top 10 lists down below. Comment them at me on YouTube. Comment them on our Twitter page at RiceConPodcast. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your choices are. Let me know if you're going to watch anything from here. Like if I sparked you into trying something out. And also, for those that have been around for the majority of this podcast, not just this one in general, but this does mark 1 year of me doing this podcast. We are in season 2, but this is the 1 year mark since we put out the first episode of this podcast. And I don't think it's changed in season 2 because I'm doing this solo now. But I appreciate y'all. I appreciate all the support we've gotten. I appreciate all the likes, all the shares, people that come into my chat on stream and let me know that, like, y'all enjoyed the episode. I love it. This is a passion project that I have wanted to do for a very long time, and I'm very happy I finally got to do it. And I want to keep doing it. I'm enjoying it. It's my little corner where I get to talk about things I love, and I get to talk about them with amazing people. And there will be more guests. There will be more people coming on. There are going to be repeat guests. Some of the people that have already been on will definitely be back. If there's anyone that you particularly like, let me know, and I'll see if I can snag them in as well, if they aren't already on the roster. But thank y'all all again for being there, for watching, for listening. I put this up on YouTube and Spotify. Google Podcast is apparently no longer a thing, or about to be no longer a thing, so that's going to change. But if you enjoy this and you want more and you enjoy the Digimon, or you are curious about Digimon, we are doing Digimon Conflict on the opposite week that these episodes come out. But until then, I will see y'all next week. Y'all take care.